One of the earlier games was played at Cook's store, which was owned by Mr. Carey, who advertised that they would have a big celebration on July 4, 1883. Several large steers were butchered and barbecued for the event. Wagons from Purcell hauled lumber for the dance platform, along with some ice for the church ladies to make ice cream. A straightaway racetrack was measured off, and finally, a baseball diamond. Carey had become a great baseball fan, organized a team, ordered baseball uniforms for his team, and had issued a challenge to a team that had been organized at the Alex store. This was owned by W.V. Alexander. On the 4th, the Cowboys who made up the Alex team rode up, dressed in their Sunday best, checked wool breeches, high-top boots, and fancy shirts. When they saw the Cook store team, resplendent in their new uniforms, they no longer wanted to play. But Carey and the excited crowd insisted that they do so. The Cook store team took the field, and Willie, Carey's son, warmed up in the pitcher's box. All the players, even the catcher, played barehanded because they thought it was sissy to even wear their work gloves. When Henry Thomas, one of the Alex players, stepped into the batter's box, Carey yelled, "Willie, throw him a dewdrop in." The ball came floating up to the plate. Henry met it with a full swing and knocked a home run. That blow was the beginning of a comedy of errors, which was finally ended on account of darkness. The score was 96-16 in favor of the Alex team. This celebration came to an abrupt end the next day, when Charlie Birch, who had been holding an old grudge, shot at John Davis. When Birch jerked his gun to fire, Davis jumped, threw up his hand, and dodged. The bullet nipped a finger, cut his tie in two, rolled up the skin under his throat, and finally hit an old man who was sitting some distance away on the edge of the barbecue pit talking to George McLaughlin. That was the last straw, and everyone headed for home. It was at one of these parties that Molly told E.B. about an accident on the South Canadian River that nearly killed her father. While taking a load of ripe watermelons to sell to the troops at Fort Reno, a roaring head rise on the South Canadian caught Robert smack dab in the middle of the riverbed. The wagon was so heavily loaded, he knew there was not enough time to get to either bank of the river. So as the water and logs came rolling down upon him, he quickly unhitched the team, jumped on one of the horses, and made a run for it. Getting to the other side in the nick of time, he could only watch as his load of watermelons bobbed and weaved down the raging riverbed, never to be seen again. After the water receded, he located his wagon downstream, hitched up his team, and headed for home, a wet but very lucky man. Toward the end of the summer of 1883, another unwelcome event happened. One afternoon, Ella, Aunt Adelaide's daughter, suggested that they ride over to Silver City and Aunt Sally Campbell's place to play a game of croquet. John and E.B. were boarding at Aunt Adelaide's since Montford and his new bride had returned home to Beaver Creek. When they arrived at Aunt Sally's, William Rennie, Ella's sweetheart, was already there. While some of them were playing croquet, Ella and William went for a buggy ride. It began to get late and time to be getting home when E.B. asked Aunt Sally what she thought about Ella being gone so long. At first, she said that it was all right, and that Ella could spend the night with her when she came home. But she finally confessed that Ella and William had eloped, and that she had engineered the whole thing. Ella and E.B. were like brother and sister, and this turn of events was a bitter pill for him to take. E.B. did not want to be the one to tell Aunt Adelaide that her little girl had eloped. Of course, when E.B. did tell Adelaide about the elopement, she let out a blood-curdling squawk, then screamed for C.B., Ella's brother. She ran to where C.B. was sleeping under a big elm tree and urged him to get his horse, overtake them, and bring Ella back. C.B. just rolled over and growled, "She is of age, and if she wants to run off, let her go."